Welcome back to Redacted Party Chat. I'm Brandon. I'll be your host for Case File 16, eh?
Yes, sir.
We're grooving, y'all. We are grooving. I'm so proud of us. I'm not going to lie to you. Joining me today, the man, the myth, the marine, as always. Adrian, my brother, how are you?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. Platinum Assassin, how you hanging in there?
I can complain. Side rant. The software that I use to edit some of our videos and the main podcast, Apple decided to create a subscription for their creation apps. And instead of just updating the core one and then having you sign in to get whatever subscription they're charging, they made a whole new app. So now I have to see double of the same app and make sure I pick the right one. Fuck you guys.
Wow.
Hate them.
They're usually so streamlined too, so it's like, what a fucking fuck. Yeah, fuck. I guess us specifically for that. I guess wanting to be creative.
Right.
So instead of just updating the core app and doing what I said, there's a whole separate one and also a subscription, which I guess everything has to have one now.
I mean,
getting exhausting.
Yeah.
Dude.
You know, just subscribe. Yeah. Everything's a rental. It's like, okay, can we just? But Mondays are our podcast. Be on the lookout for those. Saturday, 8:30 live streams. Resident Evil 4 VR tomorrow. By the time this goes live, though, it'll already have been done. QR code.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd say it's the Road to Requiem series, effectively. So even if you are hearing this Monday and have missed, the live stream will be up on the YouTube channel. And then after that, we will be, if Brandon does not finish Saturday, obviously he will be finishing the next, and then it will be on to 7 with Vaughn and then 8 with myself, up until Requiem is released. So
yeah, and check out the previous streams. Adrian destroyed 1, Vaughn destroyed 2, Adrian went back and destroyed 3. So fascinating watching you guys play that. I can't get over it. I think about it once a day. Like, man, it's crazy. QR code. I know Vaughn's cringing right now. Scan that code. You want to donate to the cause? It's right there at the bottom. Love you forever. And it just all filters right back into this and making it, higher and higher quality. It's all for you guys.
Apparently we have a new subscription to pay for, so,
Yeah.
Fuck apples. Pay for us, baby.
Yeah, right.
The second page of the link tree also has a bunch of games that we're looking forward to. The first one has hit the 0 mark, Neo 3. So,
yeah. I don't think Jordan slept last night. He's just been all night long.
He's just been prostrate praising Team Ninja.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then keep an eye out. We got some new stuff coming up. Don't want to fully say what it is just yet. It'll just pop up. Keep an eye out. But anything you guys wanted to comment on? Anything to say before we get into it?
I got nothing special going on my end.
I did Platinum Final Fantasy Remake and Resident Evil 7. So,
are you Platinum both of them?
Yep.
Oh, you're ready for 7.
Oh yeah, 7's done for.
I gotta do a couple more runs. My last run was like 4 hours. So, but that was the first time since 2022, I think.
Yeah, the game's a little longer than I thought. It's a little longer, for sure.
I've not played 8 yet, so I'm saving it for the stream, so that'll be all fresh. There will be no speed run shenanigans, but I'm still going to destroy that game, but
oh yeah, for sure,
in the traditional way.
That's it for me.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think I've got really anything super special that isn't going to be made into a short or a video of some kind, so you'll see. But we've all been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown. It feels so good to be back.
Oh yeah, I even after yesterday, and we kind of got bruised up a little bit, got battered a little bit. I left my really good character off to the side. I would like to eventually max out at least one character in that game. But
that's just a game, man. It's an abusive relationship, and then you get one little glass of water and glimmer of sunlight, and then you get beat back into the closet or under the stairs.
Especially the matches we were playing, I was just getting tagged. Then I mean, like instant fucking Rainbow Six. You open the door and you're at the load screen shit. Like, no chance. You're like, there's a guy, and then it's like, boom, headshot. You're on the ground. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, it's brutal. All right, yeah, let's get into it. So this question is, and I'm gonna fully take advantage of being the host here, because I don't want to go first on this one. So Dylan actually came over and hung out, and we were just talking, and this is his question. I thought it was a really, really interesting question. Topic 1, do you think the rise of AI/tech usability and independent creators will replace larger devs and publishers, similar to how YouTube and social media social media replaced traditional news channels? Giving an example like Warner Brothers ignoring fan feedback and damaging their franchises until they eventually pretty much just died. I think I must have typed something wrong there, so sorry about the stutter. Does that question make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
The only part that I didn't quite understand was the example part. Like, I don't know how that relates to the first part of the question, but
so from what I understand of what him and I were kind of generally talking was Warner Brothers, like, for example, they just won't make a Batman game, and they've effectively ruined it with Suicide Squad. And then they're making Gollum games, and they're making all this stuff that the fans just straight up don't care about. It's like getting into that Star Wars territory where you're becoming apathetic to it. Like, I don't even care what you're making. And it's, granted, they own the licensing to all that stuff, which does Netflix now own it? I know that there's business deals going on where someone might own the game and someone might own the movie rights, and now it's a complete mess.
I think that stuff is still up in the air. They're still battling out. I think Paramount and Netflix are still at a bidding war of them. So
yeah, I guess it was more so just leaning into us losing faith and trust in these bigger corporations that own these IP is the same thing as I don't trust these news stations no more, so I'm going to go find independent news sites or whatever. I don't trust Warner Brothers, EA no more. I'm going to go start looking at what is it, a Black Desert for Crimson Desert or whatever that studio is. I've never heard of them until this game. That might just be me, or an example ABC that I'm sure anybody can come up with, Grinding Gear Games or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Adrian, if you want to start it off with.
Yeah. So I find it hard to see a world where I guess I would say all larger devs are eventually eliminated. And I would even say, kind of on to go with what you're talking about with like licensing and stuff, I would almost see a future where bigger publishers pretty much just focus on selling the rights to IPs to smaller publishers, and then they do with it what they please. So in the sense that I think you're going to see like smaller studios pretty much step into the spotlight in the creative sense and like the actual legwork of making the game. I still think those larger studios and larger devs are going to remain involved, essentially allow themselves to, it's like kind of like how we've talked about like Konami in the past, where it's like they can make they make a lot of money off licensing fucking games to like pachinko machines. It's like, as much as I don't like the fact that I'm really not getting any new content from you, it's smarter to let somebody else essentially take on the workload if you don't want to do it. I think that realistically, and to go with the whole like losing faith thing, I think it's more of a matter of like, not to be like, oh, I know more than you do, but I think it's the more informed you get, the less faith you have in them to begin with. Like, I don't really trust any of these major companies anymore already.
I don't
So
necessarily. I don't know if it's necessarily like on a quote unquote moral front. Like,
it's not.
Take that out of it. It's more so just Gollum sucks. Like, that game sucks.
Right.
Like, it's even like the Hogwarts Legacy thing. People have their issues, blah, 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 but that game is undisputedly good. Like, there's just a quality product's a quality product. And, it's just Warner Brothers just being a example, I guess. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off.
No. I mean, I definitely foresee the tech usability and independent creators on the rise. They're already on the rise. I think we've talked about it before when we talked about AI. I think it is we're going to see once the AI scare, so to speak, has died down, we're going to see a major boom. I think it's an inevitability that tech is utilized on a wider scale, which will obviously allow for like independent studios to rise up in the ranks. I think it's funny because like using the WB, ignoring fan feedback. I think it's going to start being that they're going to start ignoring that people don't like AI, and then once it becomes widespread enough, you're just going to see people utilizing it. And I think it's not overall a bad thing, but I feel like bigger companies are going to find a way to keep their finger in the pie, no matter what. No matter who it is, you're going to see some devs that do really good and make really good products. But that in doing so, I think if anything, they'll put themselves on the radar of those bigger companies. And that's where you're going to start seeing those bigger companies. You're going to start seeing those smaller companies start getting those licensing opportunities. I think if anything, that's where I see everything going.
Maybe Warner Brothers is I don't want to say a bad example, but Warner Brothers owns the rights to those. I guess maybe a better example would be something like what Marvel's doing, where Insomniac is doing Wolverine and Spider-Man, and then the people that do, is it XCOM did like Midnight Suns or whatever that one was, and they're taking an IP that they own and, like you're saying, passing it around to people. And if you do a quality thing, you do a quality thing. But right. You still have the power to pull that thing back. I guess Warner Brothers is a unique situation where it's like they own it and it's their dev teams. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're going to see more. You're going to, with the rise of AI and accessibility, you're going to see more of those studios getting those opportunities. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like the Warner Brothers or whoever you want to use of the world are going to start handing those off to smaller studios. It's like, I can't say Sega, but kind of like Sega, where Sega's like a publishing company. Like they're not the brunt of everything anymore. They essentially took a step back from being the main guy in order to, I mean, they kind of cut back on costs because it cuts back on, like Xbox even does it. It's like, they hand IPs off to people. Everybody does it. Well, for the most part, but Xbox more so than anybody else. I feel like they have all these studios that aren't, I guess, technically first party studios, but they give them opportunities to make games on their behalf. And I think that's what you're going to see. Like WB, yeah, I don't see WB continuing to make these games themselves or like have their own studios when you could just license these out to smaller studios until still take a big cut of the pie, is what I'm saying. Because it ultimately it makes sense when you think of, because even using well, I guess Netflix still does make originals. And I say that's almost a decent example because it's like it's like that. It's almost like a subscription service in that sense, where it's like they have the thing and they're passing it out to people. They're allowing other people to make money for them as opposed to putting their neck out there and trying to make the money themselves. Right. Ultimately. And I think everybody that is bigger, that's why I say I don't think bigger studios are going anywhere, in the sense that I think they're going to all start to move towards that model where they have other people doing the work on their behalf, but it's not going to be their studio.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to correct myself. Crimson Desert's devs are called Pearl Abyss. Yeah. I said Black Desert. That's their MMO. I guess another example that kind of came to my mind was Expedition 33. Like those were devs from a big studio that went off and did their own thing, and now effectively they're going to probably turn into a new AAA studio.
Hopefully.
And yeah, and yeah, I guess it'll be really interesting because I guess the Expedition 33 thing makes more traditional sense because they've been in that world. Whereas with the technology getting more accessible and, more advanced, I'm wondering if we're going to have that, for lack of a better word, almost that Joe Rogan moment where someone just broke the system.
Here's what I guess I'm trying to say is I think there's going to be those. I think that's going to happen, but I think it's going to be much like the Joe Rogan type of situation where because Joe Rogan's here, Fox News ain't going nowhere. It's
No,
like one of those things where it's like I totally anticipate the rise of more standout studios, and I totally foresee those studios honestly having more goodwill with the people, the average gamer, than the current or previously established studios. But I don't want people to misunderstand and think that means I believe those studios are going anywhere. I don't think they're going
right.
in. I think they're
No.
going to evolve in a
Yeah.
way that will allow them to utilize, if not siphon off of smaller studios. I think they will realize their I think they're going to realize whenever that change in the wind comes, and I think they're going to find a way to, attach themselves to the industry in a way. They're not gonna go anywhere. That's for
No.
sure.
Because I wonder if it would be something, and God, I hope this doesn't happen. Probably will, though. Let's just say, in a hypothetical situation, Netflix, they get a hold of Lord of the Rings, and they just continuously, it just never gets good. Star Wars never gets good. And then some new Joe Rogan, Moist Critical esque character comes along and makes a game, and that new thing becomes the new fantasy that overshadows this. Is it as good? Is it as good as Lord of the Rings? No, but the people who are in control of Lord of the Rings don't know how to manage it, and they're doing the pachinko machine thing, like you're saying, where they're almost being a kingpin. They're like, I don't know, we own it, but whatever. And that's where you start outsourcing and blah blah blah, whatever. But I can almost see it being a Fox News where, yes, Fox News isn't going anywhere, but their 2,000 views compared to Joe Rogan's 25 million views is just, you can't even.
I think the problem comes with that, and it would be the only thing, and I guess it would have to absolutely depend upon really the evolution of media. If it keeps evolving the way it is, it's the same with the Fox News. It's money. It's straight up money and power, where it's one of those things where those studios will absolutely could, like, let's say hypothetically, make a better product, right? They could make a better product, like, but do they have the money to increase that reach? That's that's what it would be. That's what it would come down to, where it's they could make all the good products they want, but without the ability to spread that, they're never going to be able to reach that level. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying as of right now, I don't see a way where a small studio could, like, I don't we have seen that in a sense because the fucking FromSoft. FromSoft 100% is an example of what we're talking about, where they took the traditional RPG genre and changed it in such a way to make it their own, and now it's not this and that even then, it kind of goes with what I'm saying. It's like they're not the standard, but in reality, like looking at Elden Ring, it's like they eventually did evolve to the point where they made arguably, the best RPG that we've seen on game at least even going by awards. They've made the best RPG that gaming has seen so
Yeah,
far in
for
in
sure.
that genre. So it is doable if you, and like, yeah, they're a AAA studio now, but initially they were, if you look at the history of FromSoft, they by no means were like coming out swinging with big money behind them. They got big money due to, making a name for themselves. So it's very much a doable thing. The frequency at which that can be done, they are still very much an outlier. I mean, we've talked about the FromSoft story all the time, where essentially they took a lot of risks. They took a lot of risks and gave zero fucks, and that's how they ended up where they ended up. But it's the reality of business. It's a reality of the industry. It's like you don't want to use the outlier as the standard, because let's be honest, a lot of people ain't going to be able to pull off what they pulled off. And that's what I'm saying. It's like the evolution. I don't know so much of the software and AI and stuff. I think it's very, I think we're at a point where people can do that, but it's almost like a chemical X type of thing. I write off, and I've been thinking about the question, but it's, even then it's like, I really couldn't tell you exactly what I think somebody would need to cross that threshold. All I could tell you is it will need considerable resources. Because I would say the Souls didn't even cross that threshold until Elden Ring, and they didn't get considerable resources until the success of the Souls series. So it's like it very much does depend upon the amount of resources you have to throw at these things, mixed with quality.
Because I guess my mind started going. Let me rephrase, because I did say Lord of the Rings, which is as big as it gets. Something like Peak, that's not that many devs, blows up huge. And if it is, let's just say me, you, and us three get on Unity or Unreal Engine 5, and we're talented enough and we make something that does just blow up with a unique idea, and all that comes right to us, that's probably then when the big partners come. Hey, you want to get a hold of that game and this property? And I think what you're talking about with what is it that's going to cross the threshold, the Joe Rogan-esque person, is someone to tell those legacy people, no, we're doing our own thing, and that's going to drive them crazy. But if you were to, if that person, because that's the other thing with Joe Rogan, is he is consistently quality for years,
and that's
years
exactly
and
what I
years
was going to say. You have to
Yeah.
perform. Not only do you have to bring a I don't want to say unique product, because unique implies something that is, in my opinion, it's like when I say unique, it's like one of a kind. It's like, technically Dark Souls is like, everybody looks at it like it's vastly different than everything else, but it's not as crazy different as you think. You essentially need to capture a good audience, a consistent audience, and then perform every time that you put out something. It has to, ignoring Dark Souls 2, but people bought Dark Souls 2. And there's people that fucking like the game. And I love Souls games.
It's the best Dark Souls.
I don't have time for this. But fucking look like Vaughn had, made Vaughn have to shit himself. But yeah, that fucking it made my mouth taste bad. But yeah, you have to perform every time. You have to be consistent every time. You have to be somewhat transparent every time. And
you have to be a Joe Rogan. Yeah, you got to be you do have to be that new. Everything about it has to be just a new
and like using Peak as an example. And I'm not saying that studio is bad, but using games and studios like that juxtaposed against a FromSoft studio, for all intents and purposes, until the studio that did Peak puts out more product. And I'm not saying they've done anything wrong so far, but I'm saying until they do it, they're a flash in the pan. You're a guy that made a good game. People make good games all the time. There are tons and tons and tons of good games that are made, and it does not result in a studio having a solid foothold in the industry. Like, yeah, when you put out a game, I'll be excited for it. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, those guys are making another game. But it's like Hades 2. Those are good games. By no means is anybody sitting waiting with bated breath to see what that studio is doing. No, by no means do they have major industry pull. it's one of those things. It's like you can there can be plenty of studios that can do well, but if we're talking about a studio that is going to solidify itself as a staple of the gaming industry, that there's a little
zeitgeist.
Yeah, there's a little more that goes into that than simply making a good game and making a good game consistently. Like I said, I feel like that's almost a Chemical X type of thing. I don't think it's one. I think it can be a multitude of things, realistically speaking, especially dependent on genre. But I don't think just because more studios will be able to make good games, that means that more studios are going to essentially be ready for that step. I think that's also a thing. It's like there's a level of readiness a type of person has to be in the big leagues, and almost worse than never making it is making it and not being ready for it. And I think that's another thing that's going to hinder a lot of people. That if anything, I think that is the biggest thing that will hinder people is the accessibility allows you to do things, but it's like now you have to participate in this. It's like being allowed. It's like if somebody came and handed me a contract to play in the MLB, it's like, well, they let me in the league, but now I gotta play in the league. It's like, all right, well, can you do that? And that's not just quality speaking, like logistically, any of that stuff, getting the servers together, getting the spaces together, getting, the teams together, because the reality of it is people will expect bigger from you. Like, yeah, if you start off as a small team, there's no way you're going to solidify yourself in any kind of way without growth. So even if we do start off with a small team with AI and accessible software and stuff like that, at some point you're going to have to grow, and you need to be able to manage all that growth. And I think that's going to be the biggest roadblock for a lot of people, is management of rapid growth.
I have a few things I want to say, but let's get Vaughn in the case here. Let's hear what you got.
I guess I took this question differently than how you guys are taking it.
I don't know if I took it wrong. I'm just going with my understanding. So
yeah, no, I didn't even really discuss it much with Dylan. I literally was like, "That's a cool question. Let's not even talk about it." And then I just literally wrote it down, and that was that.
I went more of the AI route compared to big publishers in that I don't think AI and the accessibility of making games that brings will dethrone the big publishers. And I know, Adrian, you talked a little bit about that as well, that I don't think you're going to see like a Naughty Dog or a Kojima or the next big Halo made by AI and indie people alone. I think there's too much collaboration and too much that goes into that, at least right now in its current form of AI. I don't think you're going to see just make me a game like Halo or make me a game like Uncharted and make it of that quality, put the prompt in, and it spits it out. Like, you're not going to see that. You're going to see more indie devs and more smaller, I don't want to classify it as slop yet until we actually see it, but I think the accessibility of AI and that it's able to create some of these basic fundamentals of gaming, you're going to see just inherently more of that on the market. But as a whole, we still need those big publishers, those big developers to almost put that new standard, that new line out there that these independent developers can strive for. Not that it has to be, like we said in the last podcast, of that quality every single time, but you want your stuff to look good. You want your stuff to be as popular as a AAA game, so you're shooting for those stars. So mine is a little more of the AI route than what you guys are talking about. And I think the analogy I went with, or I could think of, was like you have a really good burger joint, and you go to it, you love it, and then a new, closer burger joint shows up near you, which is essentially the AI development of games. And you go there, and it's decent, it's good, but it's really only there for convenience. And you go to it and you enjoy it for the convenience. But you still like to go to your other burger joint that might be farther away because it's just better quality. It tastes better. You'll make that trip when they have a special or something. So you're gonna absorb some of that easier content that AI might bring, but you still want that big AAA, quadruple A content.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Skull and Bones, dude. I've never played anything like that. Okay, so I've given 2 bad examples now. Let me try a third time, and maybe I'll give a good example here. Take Fortnite in its primitive state. Not really AAA. Let's be real. That could be done by a small group of people. However, Fortnite became the Joe Rogan where it broke the system and now people come to Fortnite. Fortnite doesn't even got to go to anybody. They want to be with Fortnite. That, I think, is more realistic and likely, is that somebody ends up making not necessarily the From Software route where I'm putting out game after game that's quality and I'm proving myself. I put out one absolute culturally changing game that now, like a Minecraft, where it's just, whoa, it's bigger than anything ever, changed everything, and now everybody wants to get involved. I think is a more realistic way of putting that.
I guess with that, then it just because in the way that the question is phrased, so to speak, that's the thing, because in the question says replace. Like, Fortnite didn't replace anybody though. Everybody just, and this goes back to what we're saying about, like, I don't think those major companies, I think they're going to find a way to ingratiate or just retain or fucking leech off of other people. Fortnite didn't replace anybody. Everybody just started doing battle royales. Everybody added a battle royale to their stuff. Like, they'll change what is expected of AAA studios, like in that sense. Like, Fortnite didn't replace anybody. Fortnite started a massive cultural thing, and it has reflected over the industry, but it's like, they didn't replace Call of Duty. Call of Duty just added a battle royale. They didn't replace Battlefield. Battlefield just added a battle royale. You know, it opened up the door for people that wanted to do more battle royale. So now you see stuff like Apex and you see stuff like Hunt. But they didn't replace anybody.
And then the other part about YouTube kind of taking away from the major cable networks and stuff, my portion on that was that's harder to do with interactive media than just absorbing visual media, because I guess my burger analogy plays more into that, in that you see different outlets taking the same type of movies and putting it out there, or Hulu having something one day and then Disney Plus having the same thing another, Amazon Prime having something else. You can't do the same thing with games in the sense of creation, where AI wouldn't take away the core fundamental, like YouTube and Disney and whatnot. You still have to have creatives to make that. So that part of the question, like, distance the Warner Brothers example for me, which is why I questioned it in the beginning.
I guess the AI would be, depending on how it evolves, and I'm assuming it's just gonna keep getting better and better and better and better. I would imagine, and I'm not saying I know nor believe any of this, I'm just spitballing. The AI would borderline be replacing, because there's going to be people, like we've talked about, that are like, I can't draw, but people don't care. That replaces the art team. That replaces the writer. That replaces this. Boom, boom, boom. But maybe I'm a really good programmer or something. And now that one singular dude is a dev team to a degree.
Yeah. You're gonna see that pop up and get more refined more and more. Like I said, we might get to a point where AI can create stuff of the insane quality that we're used to and that we enjoy the most. But as of right now in 2026, I think you're going to see more indie dev style stuff with AI. Like we said in the past, again, big AAA publishers and devs are using AI in some form or factor, and you can either accept it or not, but it's happening.
Dude,
Don't know what to tell you.
Like how? Because we were talking about Power World, and I guess somehow they didn't get sued. I'm sure that Nintendo is still stalking them to a degree, just waiting for a slip up. But even that,
appropriate changes.
yeah, it's like, dude, I don't even really know about Pokemon all like that, but I saw that and was like, you guys rip Pokemon. So I'm wondering, going to like you're saying, there's not going to really be like Death Stranding esque stuff. Let's just say, with rat battles of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X coming up. What is going to be stopping people from being like, hey, I want a what's the girl's name who plays in Death Stranding? Dakota. It's like Dakota Fanning, her sister. Even if it's not exactly her, give me a character like her, who acts like her from this movie, from this blah blah blah, with these mannerisms. I don't know. That just seems, because dude, AI looks
visually
real. It looks straight up real, and that's totally different on a video compared to playing something.
Yeah.
But even if you were to render your cutscenes in said fashion or whatever, and I don't know, it just seems,
the gameplay part is what breaks all of this. Because you could say make a Kojima-esque weird cutscene with actor A, B, C, and D, and then have them interact and say weird stuff, and it'll spit some AI video out. But then, where does the gameplay come in? Like, are you going to have the same? You could have like a Unity-based bare bones type thing that AI scripted, but then it breaks down. Like then the substance kind of falls apart, and
that's why I'm saying it. I wonder if it's going to take somebody who, like, let's just say they really they have a sick gameplay loop and they understand that whole side of it, but they can't do the rest. That probably would be enough because that is the core of the game. The rest of the stuff, and I love story and I love graphics and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it is that gameplay loop that's going to ultimately keep you hooked.
Yeah.
So if, say, they authentically do that part, it's very, I don't know.
And I think that is I think that's a unique, like those cases are unique in the sense that using that as compared to like a Fortnite, whereas I obviously you can replay it, but Death Stranding isn't like a highly marketable replayable experience. And even so, I think, to be honest, and we'd have to just see, for me, it's like, it's a huge what if. We'd have to see where the AI gets to eventually, but it's like without the Kojima, or, just use insert creative head behind it, without that person to tie all that stuff together, it is nonsense. It's not, because he is making it coherent. It's a tough word. He's driving it, so it makes sense, but it's like, if you're utilizing AI to essentially effectively just saying make some weird shit, you now need to make that weird shit make sense. So like,
do you?
Yeah.
Does it need to make sense? Maybe to us, dude. Not
well,
if that guy, but we're in pretty low vibrational times right now.
Well, I mean, if
People
you want it to have staying power, you do, and that's the difference between these studios. A studio that just makes something weird and different, and like I said, flash in the pan, it might catch on and be interesting, but it's not going to have staying power if it has no coherent sense. Like, people are doing video. Well, Roblox is like different. Roblox is like an online, just interactive. People are making games within the game of Roblox. Roblox is really just a giant community hub in which people are making stuff within the game. Like, that content is made by people within it. That's really just giving people a giant sandbox to play in and allowing them to play. That can really be done by anybody. because the people that make Roblox really haven't done much with the game besides give people the tools to make stuff within their game. That's
engine.
yeah. So that's just a super smart play on their part. Now, if you wanted to use AI, now that is actually a case in which this could go really well for people. Obviously, you have to take into account market saturation, stuff like that. Like, how many of these games can we make before people stop giving a fuck? But realistically, yeah, if you wanted to use AI to make a game that has no realistically like coherent story driven anything, and it's you just want to make like a world and like I said, a sandbox, like just a creative thing, that would work for that, because you don't have to make, there is no coherent, there's no lore to Roblox, that could work for that specific example style of game. Like if you wanted to make a Roblox or a Minecraft or something like that, it would work. But now if we're talking about anything that has staying power in the sense of like, because it's got essays on it, and the stuff you see with the Soul series, stuff like that, it's like that's a whole different beast. That's a whole different beast entirely, because those games have relevance for a different reason than games like, in my opinion, like Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft. Those games have staying power because of that gameplay loop and because of stuff like the different licensing stuff they can do, and it keeps people hooked in with that loop. But it's not keeping people hooked in for, I don't want to say meaningful, because it makes me sound like a pretentious dickhead, but it's like there's nothing meaningful in the sense that people are going to think about these things. There's no way to it's hard to say, because a motherfucker could franchise anything and make anything. I'm sure there's probably Minecraft books, but it's like you could those things just don't have the same staying power for the same reasons that games that are story driven have. And I think that would be the difference, because it's like, you could make a bunch of creative engine games, but eventually, just like Fortnite, you can make a bunch of games that are battle royales, but eventually people are going to fucking get sick of them, and you're going to have 2, maybe 4 or 5. And then, like, for example, Tarkov. People play Tarkov, but Tarkov is out of the battle royale. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You can have, that's, people play it, I'm sure, but it's out of the zeitgeist. So now you got Arc Raiders, now you got Fortnite, and now you have Call of Duty and Battlefield with their respective battle royale modes. And then once, as the time keeps ticking, I'm sure Arc Raiders will probably fall off more than likely before Battlefield or Call of Duty does, because Battlefield and Call of Duty have their own staying power. Fortnite, I think, like Fortnite in terms of battle royale will stay king, but it's like you're just throwing that once the market gets so saturated, eventually you're gonna get pushed out. And it's just a matter of, are you right? In my opinion, games like that, it's like you're always going to be vying for 4th and 5th place. You're the 4th and 5th monkey on the island, and there's only room for fucking, there won't be a 6th.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, maybe that is my fear, is that some AI slop game makes so much money that the big publishers can't ignore it. That would be a nightmare. And then that derails the entire industry into chasing that the way they chase live services. And you see how that's worked out for Sony with all their failed projects, and Xbox, and everybody just crashing and burning over chasing that Fortnite money. But it's like you're saying, there can only be so many people on the island realistically.
And there's so much vitriol with AI. I don't know. I can't foresee it ever getting to that point. I think it's good to where what you just described, where publishers are like, oh, this AI flash in the pan is the next big thing. We need to build our own AI and have it craft its own unique thing and put it out there. Like, most gamers are probably anti-AI in its current state. I mean, you saw it with Larian and all that. They're still getting flack for it, and the main guy in there is still fighting people on X about it's not AI built. They're using AI as tools. Give us some slack. So again, all of these scenarios are very what if, and we have no idea, so it's hard to say. There's a lot of what about this, what about that, but we can really only take it based on its current state, and I don't think we have to worry about AI overthrowing the games industry in the sense of it's creating games and absorbing everyone's time, as opposed to the new Halo or the new Gears or the new Gran Turismo. I think it's still strictly a tool, and maybe an enhanced tool for indie devs that, like you said, might not have the chops to do art or do sound design or maybe code. They can do other things, and it'll have it code the physics. I can do everything else, I just can't do physics right. Can you help me with it? And then it does that, and then like, oh, hey, this is great. But we're seeing a lot more. At least I'll give props to Steam that I think now on Steam, if you use AI, you have to disclose it in some form or fashion. So I think we're going to see that regulate this nightmare scenario too.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Kind of what Vaughn's saying. I would agree with that. It's like everything right now is a what if. We can really only speak. We can make projections. I think the only thing that is a constant now that will be a constant in the future is the fact that there is a finite player base. And that's why I bring up the example of there only being so much space. That's the one thing I can say for certain is there will always be a finite player base because as far as I'm aware, we will never be able to be an infinite amount of human beings on this planet. So there's always going to be only so much room for so much of the same game in the same genre.
And our type of gamer is a dying breed. I've heard it from multiple other people. It's just we play games differently than the current generation of gamers, so that could completely flip the focus as well.
Yeah. Solid topic, Dylan. Solid topic. It's a good
Appreciate
one.
you.
Yeah, I'm sure him and I will hop in a party chat and he's like, oh, dude, what about this?
Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah. You guys good on that one?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Topic 2. How do games from different cultures, like the rise of Chinese AAA games like Black Myth Wukong, change our Western-centric understanding of good game design? This was a Vaughn question, I believe.
Sir.
I'm going to pitch it right on over to you.
I think the rise of like the China Hero Project and all of these current games that have released and we know are coming out have almost fundamentally changed how we view game quality, gameplay, visuals. We're so used to, by we, I mean the people that have rational thought and understand how games are made and where they come from, and they're not just poof out of nowhere. Generally understand that games come from the States, they come from Japan, they come from sometimes the UK, and as a whole, that's kind of where they've always come from. And then almost out of the blue, and not saying that other games haven't come from other countries around the world, but as a whole, it's generally those 3 territories. But out of the blue, we've seen some heavy hitters hit the scene. Stellar Blade, which is Korean. We had, let me read some of them off.
Black Myth Wukong.
Genshin Impact. Phantom Blade Zero's coming out. Marvel Rivals was China. The Godslayer, Where the Winds Meet. Last Sentinel, Crimson Desert. First Berserker Kazan.
Lies of P,
yep. Like all of these super high quality games that have come out, and the trailers for the ones that are coming out are almost leaps and bounds better than most things that we see coming out of the States, outside of, again, outliers of like racing sims, flying sims, Naughty Dog, Kojima, stuff like that. I think people, if you haven't noticed, you need to notice, because these are some heavy hitting games that play really well, look great, and are doing things that we haven't seen in a while. And to ignore it based on location is A, fucked up, but B, just ignorant, because these things are going to be fueling this hobby that we all love. So the Western game devs aren't the big hitters anymore, especially after some of these upcoming releases.
What you got on that, Adrian?
I mean, I would say the first thing I would point at, I think, if anything, I mean, there's a hope, but I hope it's lighting a fire. I think my biggest, if I had to point to something that I feel like Western studios and, you know, honestly, a lot of like Japan, they've done pretty well. A lot of the games that I would still say show passion are coming out of Japanese studios, but it's a comfortability. I think Western studios got used to, same with, you know, and we'll keep it on games, but I think it is important to point out that a lot of even TV shows and movies, while not spreading as far as they could and or should, a lot of them are coming from the same places, China, Korea, you know, other places that we usually don't hear and see from. And I think it is almost that they are outside of the system that has been just kind of grinding along as it has been. It's stale. And I think it's a really good sign, because it shows that the industry hasn't stagnated, or, you know, gotten close to stagnation due to there no longer being creativity in the world as a whole. Like, the magic's not gone from the world. It's just this insulated echo chamber, effectively, that the industry has made for itself, in which, you know, I'm not saying it's all slop, but essentially it's like they feel like they have a captive audience. They feel like they have us in a position where, you know, maybe they're not intentionally, and it happens in anything, for the most part, like anything in life that anybody does. So I always go with, assume something is done out of ignorance instead of malice, but it's, you have gotten so comfortable under the assumption that your standard, you're setting the standard, and that your standard is a good standard. And the whole time you don't read, it's like a chef that's been cooking for a long time, and they've lost, you know, they've lost the passion. It's like, your food doesn't taste as good as it did when you first started, back when you cared, back when you really wanted to make this dish something special. You now that you know the ingredients to make this dish, you're just making the dish. That's all you're doing. You're not making culinary art anymore. You're just preparing the dish, and then you're putting it out on the table. And then you're like, you know, you don't realize it doesn't taste any different because you haven't eaten it in a long time, or it is the only thing you have eaten. And thus you don't realize that, you know, it's not what it was. It ain't nothing special anymore. And I think these studios that are coming from these places that traditionally have not been putting out content on this scale, I think these guys are kind of realizing it's a thing. They're realizing they're that person that's that first stepped in the kitchen and realized, oh man, there's something to this. I've been eating this other guy's food, but I think I could do this thing. You know, I think I could make this, you know, something special, make it my own, put my own spin on it. So I think that is going to be the biggest change that it makes to the industry. And I hope it's in a positive sense. I'm going to have faith that, because just the way that they're performing, there's, as of right now, I'm just going to have faith that they're going to keep on that trajectory. And my hope is that that encourages other studios to kind of re-examine the way that they look at games, period. Instead of just a product to be made, you're making something that's genuinely fulfilling. You know, you're from top to bottom, you're enjoying it. And I also feel like those countries, especially in the Western sense, I feel like that they just are making them and they're not thinking of any additional nonsense. They're not thinking of any political anything. They're not thinking of anything like that. They're just trying to make a game for the sake of making a game. I'm not saying there can't be games that are made to make a statement or as a metaphor or whatever that can't be good products, but the reality of it is, and I'll stand by it till the day I die, it's video games are escapism. I came to have a interesting, unique, fun experience. And it doesn't have to be, as I stated before, with a unique thing. When I say unique, I don't mean it in the sense that it is just a one of a kind and no one's ever done anything like it. No, but I do want your game to feel different. I want it to separate itself. And it doesn't have to do that in any crazy way, but you know, I don't want to play a game that I feel like, hey man, this feels like Devil May Cry, but they put, like I didn't look at Stellar Blade and go, this looks like Devil May Cry, but they put a chick in it. Like, it felt like something unique and fun, and that they took time and care to actually facilitate me just having a traditional gaming experience. So I think that's going to be, hopefully that is the biggest impact. I very much think that they see the money in it at a minimum. So we're going to see more products coming, more games and more IPs come from those territories, and hopefully more. Even I'm totally down to see other people throw their hat in the ring, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's what we need in the industry, is essentially some fresh blood in there to kind of shake things up a little bit. Especially with a lot of these games outperforming some of these bigger studios titles. It's like, all right, we need to, even if that unfortunately means getting new chefs in the kitchen, if you got to bring in new directors and new people, and I'm not opposed to that. Everybody likes seeing the big names, and that's great. But
they're not going to be around forever, so
right,
you can't
right.
just expect it's going to be Kojima making Kojima games all the time. You need not saying you need a new Kojima per se, but you need like you said, fresh talent in there, bringing new ideas and not rehashing previous ones.
I think this current industry is a mixture of comfortable and scared. Which, being scared, the fear of change comes with that comfortability. This is what's worked. What if we try something different and they don't like it? But the reality is, you're looking at a slow degradation of the quality, because you're afraid to change anything. And I mean, it's essentially, are you choosing a slow death, or are you choosing a risk that could turn out, not great, for the chance of life? It's like, do we use up the last of the battery to send out a signal for an SOS, or do we stay on the ship and just hope somebody finds us and die a slow death?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something? No. Gotcha. I think this is incredible. I love games, obviously. But good God Almighty, there is more places in the world than America, Japan, and Europe.
I don't believe you.
We need to move on. Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but totally to piggyback off what you're saying, I think the Western studios, for the most part, not all, obviously, like we said, there are, studios that are doing great stuff, but for the most part, it is greed, fear, and complacency. You guys are probably mostly complacency, I would say, and you've made your money, and it's to a degree Sony's issue right now. Just we've got a monopoly. Why would we change anything? And that sucks, because you guys are filthy rich now. You have the money to take the risk. So it's just such a backwards thinking. So it's always boring when they get like this. So I want to play the games of the people that are hungry and want to make a statement right now. That is what and it's not just China. They've opened studios in India, Africa. Yes, please. Like, love of God, someone else get in here and say something. Like it would be. I mean, I go on and on about Robert Eggers all the time, but like that's why his movies have so much charm. That boy truly loves his culture and his history, and you can feel that. Everything is just solely dedicated to that. And Black Myth Wukong has that energy. Like there's a level of chest out bravado of like this is us. I'm excited to see a game out of India. I don't know nothing about Indian culture really, but I would totally play an Indian God of War. That'd be sick. I learned. Can
Oh, we cut out.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Like God of War was like my introduction to Greek mythology. I was like 8 or something, 7, and outside of like the Disney Hercules movie, seeing the dark tone of God of War and seeing the actual Greek tragedy, it led me to read about Greek mythology and get interested in it, learn about history and blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah, there's just like you were saying, there's like this echo chamber that's going on. It's kind of like when the medieval Dark Ages happened, and everybody acts like there was just no history going on outside of Europe. It's like no, the world carried on. It's just Europe shut down for a while. It's like
Right.
things going on. And also just on a base level, like market diversity. It's doing what you're saying. It's going to put a fire under Western studios to be like, man, are we getting shown out by them? You're going to get people that are going to get competitive and be like, we need to step it up. And personally, this is just me. I see Black Myth Wukong, and I'm like, that's the new God of War to me. I can't wait to see that next Black Myth game. That is what God of War should be. I don't care about none of this stuff you guys are doing now. You've kind of, to piggyback off, because I agree a lot with what you're saying. Like it's like with TV. The issue with TV and a lot of movies and just kind of Western media in general is because you're in this mindset of the broadest audience, you're not really for anybody to a degree. It's too broad to where it doesn't have soul. It's like that is what makes it special, is that it is those tiny little nuances that are particular to that thing.
It's become homogenized essentially,
Yes.
where it's a big melting pot, and eventually, if you keep melting everything together, and I'm not saying that's not a good thing to have mass appeal, but it is one of those things where once it's like, ooh, blend this idea. It's like blending a bunch of different colors together. It's like, yeah, blending a couple colors together might make something beautiful and vibrant. But if you blend them all together, you're always going to get brown.
Yeah,
Exactly. Eventually, and I think we're almost in a brown era where it's where we've kept trying to blend the same ideas over and over again, and we're at a point where we're mixing where we have the brown base color of the gaming industry, and it's like, well, let's interject a little bit of this into it. Let's splash a little purple in there, huh? And it's like, yeah, but really, it's just fucking shitty brown with a little bit of purple in it now.
Right.
And if I mix it long enough, it'll just turn into the same sludge over again. Whereas these other countries, if anything, I'd say are almost insulated within themselves. So it's like they haven't been in this, this brown sludge system that we have. So they're coming in fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even same thing with which I don't know. I don't know if they've confirmed what team specifically is working on that Lord of the Rings game, but even the fact that it's getting funded out of Abu Dhabi, like that's just totally different. And even, and I'll stand by it, dude, with Crimson Desert. If that game delivers, the entire industry is put on watch, Rockstar included. And that is the big one because Rockstar is the big darling over here, where it's like nothing is as high quality as Rockstar. We'll just completely ignore that the games don't play good. We'll just completely ignore that part because the horse balls shrink up in the snow. And I love Red Dead. I love Red Dead to death. But if you mean to tell me I care about that, like, dog, we're not the same. Whereas Crimson Desert looks as good as that and plays like a Capcom game. Dog, That doesn't even compute in our Western mentality with games, or even Japanese games. There's nothing like that. So it goes to what Vaughn is saying. Like, if you're not paying attention, you need to wake up, because there's a new wave coming of people that have something to say and something to prove, for sure.
Yeah, and the element of longer dev cycles, which is something we've talked about before, in that the longer the dev cycle is, the more isolated that team is from cool things happening in the industry. Not that they don't see it, but they're literally hampered by the road plan to get X game out. Bethesda's guilty of that. GTA is probably going to be guilty of that in some form or fashion. People are going to be blinded by the fact that it's just GTA and it's going to look really good. But are the gameplay fundamentals going to be vastly different than what we've seen in 5? We won't know until it comes out, but that game has been in development for so long. Like, you can't just at the drop of a hat change fundamental gameplay elements of a game that's been in development that long. It's just not how it works. So you're gonna see these bloated dev cycles become more and more brown because you can't pivot enough or fast enough like all of these other countries are with the games. Like, I don't think a lot of these games have been in development for more than a few years. And
I'm gonna look at Black Myth Wukong. I don't think that one was in development for very long at all.
yeah, I probably should have looked up the average dev cycle of some of these games, but
For Crimson Desert's been a long time.
Yeah,
real long.
Crimson Desert's damn near like an MMO, though. Like,
yeah, it was.
From what I can see,
it started as an MMO, so that's makes sense. Because even Black Myth, Wukong now has turned into a franchise of just Black Myth, and they're just going, like, they've basically showed a roadmap of, I don't know, 4 or 5 plus games, and it's Black Myth, who's the next Chinese deity that I'm not familiar with, but it's like, now I'm interested. I'm super interested, actually.
There's 6 years. Wait. 6 years. Which, yeah, but even so, for a first time.
Yeah, first time at that quality, and the next one's going to be maybe a 3-year dev cycle.
Right.
They have the skeleton, so.
And that's another thing that which I guess we could probably save for another topic. But just, I'm interested to see how these studios outside of America, and I don't know if Japan's really too bad with this, though. I think it's really an American thing, but just dealing with, hey, we're Ubisoft, which is Canada or whatever, but like, hey, we're Ubisoft, and we have 3,000 people working on Assassin's Creed, and half of them really ain't even qualified, and this dev cycle is going to take 8 years, even though it really didn't need to. Like, there's something to say about, and I've always kind of wondered this, and that's why I'm saying we can maybe save it for another topic, but like, how is it that you're working on a franchise that you should be getting more proficient at, yet you're taking longer?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
And you're not changing that much. So why did that just take you that long?
And the game's not necessarily X times bigger to warrant that dev cycle. They're usually pretty on par with the same size and map layout and completion time.
For that one, I'd say we'd almost have to take a look at working culture of different countries as well, just in general, and that's part of why that would be part reason why I think these studios are able to do what they do, because I'll say it, just Western culture in general, soft as fuck. So, and I'm not saying I want people to be worked like dogs, but it's one of those things where a studio gets better, and then that's where you're seeing people with looking at these crazy ass salaries, and they have one job to do, and it's like it's pretty much just like the hungry mentality almost, where it's like these people, people are willing to, and mix that with the passion, people are willing to do more. And as these companies have gotten complacent here, they're not willing to do as much as they were willing to do before. They expect more than they got before. So it's like, well, I mean, you know, I was the lead sound guy on this game, and there was only 3 people on the sound team. Well, now I want fucking 10 people, and I want my salary to be tripled. And then don't press me. I worked
Yeah.
on that other game. It's like, you
Let
know,
me
that
play a little devil's advocate. Would that not? I'm just thinking from, let's just say, a dev's point of view, and let's say the money men now tell me I have to work on the next Brown project, and I'm just like, dude, whatever. I'm so bored of this at this point that it's just become a job, and now I've lost the spark to even, who cares? It's a job now. Whereas the people working on Intergalactic or Black Myth Wukong, they're going to put that extra time in because they have that fire. It's the difference between exactly that, clocking in at your 9 to 5 opposed to doing something creative, which is, talk about it all the time. But if the general culture of Western development has turned into brown slop, then generally that is going to be, it's like, is it soft or is it, this is boring?
I think that would be a good topic in and of itself. The brown topic mixed with crunch, like, can they go together?
Yeah, let's put a pin in that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
What's our time? What are we looking like?
We got
8 hours.
Plenty of time.
I've been here all day. Yeah.
Are we all good on that one?
Yep.
Yeah, we all pretty much generally agree. For the love of God, can we get something different out here? Like, please.
Man, breathe life into fucking CPR this fucking industry, please.
God have mercy. I see another game that looks like Fortnite or Overwatch. I'm gonna blow my brains out. Okay. Topic 3. How do you define a remake versus a remaster? Has it gotten out of control or been handled well, in your opinion? I believe this was mine. On basic definitions, a remaster, it's tricky because 3 different games come to my mind. So there's, like, of course, notoriously Last of Us. From PS3 to PS4, back then I would say that's a remaster because you're just up-resing.
It has the remastered name in it. Yeah.
Right. However, as time has went along, I almost would kind of call the PS5 one a remaster. Even though, yes, you have made it dramatically better looking. However, Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2 are remakes. That is fundamentally a remake to me. Like, Final Fantasy VII really specifically. That's totally different. Whereas Last of Us, it's like, it's a perfect in-between of what a remaster and remake would be because, like, they did overhaul that pretty dramatically on a visual front. However, the game's not different. You say remake, I'm thinking, like I said, RE2, Final Fantasy VII kind of thing. And what was the last part of my own question that I don't remember?
Do we think we've out of control?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely gotten out of control. And that kind of ties into topic 2 of complacency, of just like, run it again. However, I do also think there's, like, let's just say Naughty Dog, for example, when you have dev cycles that are this long, and like Naughty Dog also kind of got cooked with Last of Us multiplayer getting dog walked, that it's like, we need something, to kind of be in those slots. I do think Naughty Dog is kind of in a unique position for this. It's a double-edged sword with that, where it's like, they got prototype remasters coming out, or remakes, supposedly. I'll totally get those, and it's probably going to get me into prototype, because I never played them before. Would I rather there maybe just be something new? Yeah, ultimately, because it then ties into the last topic of, like, for the love of God, something new. So I guess I'm a little bit of a contradiction on that one, personally, because it's almost like when it benefits me. I like it. I think there's goods and bads to that, but I'll get you guys on this. Vaughn, was like here.
Naughty Dog is a weird outlier because I'm also in the same boat with them specifically. It's like, maybe you could consider part 1 a remake with how drastic of a change all of that is. The part 2, on the PS5 would definitely be a remaster in my mind, because it does look better, but it's not so much of a drastic change from Last of Us PS3, Last of Us Remastered PS4, and then Last of Us Part 1. But I guess as a whole, I would consider those remasters. Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I think the only company that's doing remakes proper is Capcom. We really haven't seen a remake at the level that they have done with 2, 3, well, 3, and 4. 2 and 4 specifically. 3's a demake, but I couldn't recall any other company that's done a remake to their level and has fundamentally made the game better, in my mind.
Do you not consider, because I know we were talking about the story of Final Fantasy VII, is that not a remake to you? Is that okay? Because I know with the story of that, there's almost like spoilers for Final Fantasy VII remake, but like it's like damn near a sequel to a degree, isn't it? Like there's some weird meta stuff going on where it's a remake, but it's not.
Right. Yeah, the story with remake and Final Fantasy VII, Square Enix is also a unique case because they not only remastered 7 originally, but they then remade 7 as well. So they're in both camps. But yeah, the story for remake and rebirth could almost be considered sequels to 7 original. But if we're going strictly by definition, it does have remake in the name. So that is a full-blown remake. But there aren't many companies going past the remaster part, which is enhancing the audio, enhancing textures, cleaning up some visuals. That's what I consider a remaster, not a full-blown fundamental change to the polygons, potentially the story, the plot layout, stuff like that. That's where the remake realm, in my mind, hits. What else did I put for this? Oh, the other part of your question, I would say no. I don't think it's gotten out of hand. If I go the route of why these remasters are being put out, to me at least, I feel like these remasters are, some could say, a cash grab, but on the positive side of that, it's a good cash grab for these companies because it's easy money. Like, it's easy money to then potentially fuel, like you said, a new thing. You could have a team that is solely focused on remastering some famous nostalgia bait, which takes less than a year, maybe, of dev cycles. And that's just, I don't want to say free revenue because it takes people's hard work and actual effort to do. But when you do it well, that's revenue for you. Like, that's almost free money just coming in for something that was already established. So I think at this time in the gaming eras, I'm not seeing a flooding of the market of remasters.
I think the part that makes me think it's gotten quote unquote out of hand is just when, and I understand why they do it because it's exactly what you're saying. Like it's not free revenue, but it's low effort revenue, I should say.
Yeah.
Is kind of like how Final Fantasy Remake came out on PS4 and then again on 5, and it's like, okay, so when the third one comes out and PS6 comes out, are you going to redo it all again so it's all up to date on the current gen again? And it's like, okay, I like at a certain point, can we? And I get it, I do get it, because there is like and I have a little tick in my brain about like I want all of them on the PS5, kind of thing, and I totally get that. But it's just, come on. Come on.
That's where the gray area is, because where's the line between something that should be remastered and something that you're just putting out again because again it's easy money, but it maybe came out the prior gen. Like, are you remastering stuff that's come out in an era where it wasn't HD? Like that type of stuff could be remastered and really blow up and be like, yes, we actually wanted this. But if you're remastering, like, this is a bad example, but like Gran Turismo 7 that came out before on the PS6, it's like, why don't you just play the PS5 version on the 6 and not charge me $25, $40, $60 again for it? I guess price comes into play with some of these too, but taking price out of it, like picking and choosing what you're remastering is important too.
And 99% of the time, the thing that people wanted was like a frame rate upgrade.
Yeah.
99% of the time. And you have games...
Bloodborne.
Yeah. And you have games like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Randomly, one day they just were like, hey, it's a 60 frame upgrade. Okay, so everybody else has to re-release the game, but you were able to just do it in a patch one day? That seems kind of...
Nintendo needs to fucking learn how to go from 1 to 2 in terms of an upgrade, but that's a whole nother topic.
I heard Nintendo sucks, but I that's just through the grapevine. I don't know.
Word on the street is Nintendo fucking stupid.
Yeah, I just, that's what I hear. But and that's kind of the thing. It's like another one of those, like, someone, even if it is just one or two of them, two of these people are kind of exposing the rest of you. There's just, I think even like Shadow of War, which has been thrown to the wolves on PS5, runs at 60 frames. So,
some of those don't even take dev effort. It's just the power of the system can output more efficiently than the previous gen. But
I think Shadow of War is in that category.
Yeah.
Opposed to Assassin's Creed, which they just, I don't know why they did Syndicate. They upgraded the wrong one. You were supposed to do Unity, but hey, that would make too much sense to do what the fans want. I hope you fail. Like, crash and burn.
Adrian, go for it.
Yeah. So for me, I would say I draw a hard line for remake and remaster at major changes in gameplay, plot. I think upscaling it, and the best example I can give, it's still a Capcom example, but it's the Resident Evil 1 to the Resident Evil 1. I would call it a remaster, but like the re-release in 2014. That game is fundamentally the same. All around, it is the same exact game. Yeah, I would consider that just a remaster. It is like I for me personally, and it's just my opinion on it. I don't care. I by all means I love the overhaul. I'm not saying I don't care in a sense that I think it's pointless. I love the overhaul, but I don't care how overhauled the game is graphically. In that case, going from fucking PS1 Resident Evil to 2014 PS4 Xbox One Resident Evil, that's still a remaster because the game did not change at all. They changed a couple dialogue things. They got rid of Jill Sandwich. How dare they? But it is the same game. So it's not a remake of the game. They just upgraded it highly. And obviously, with that being said, a remake of a game is changing the game fundamentally in some sense, whether it be how the game plays or how the story functions, or something like that, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. From what I understand, that game obviously changed fundamentally in gameplay, and as well as they even changed elements of the story in it. That is a different game. They remade that game into the same core sentiment, but it is a different game. So I think that for me, I draw that hard line there with that. I would say that in terms of, do I believe it's gotten out of hand? I don't believe it's gotten out of hand. It's a dual-edged sword. I think it is unnecessary. I think it is most certainly gotten I think the amount of remakes or remasters you're seeing is completely unnecessary. I've said that plenty of times. I think that like and I'm kind of torn on this because I fully acknowledge the idea of, and there's a couple elements to it, one of which being, as always, price. I fully acknowledge the want to remaster a game for a new console. And effectively, where my mind goes is that is making a modern experience of a previous title for a new generation that's experienced the games. So if someone is just like, let's say someone's just getting a PS5, it's like I would want them to play the best version of that game that I had. I don't want them playing PS3 Last of Us on a PS5. I want them to have the most updated version of that game. And where I'm torn on that and where it would come down to price is the consumer centric side of me. I guess there's multiple consumer centric sides of me. The most extreme consumer centric side is 100% agrees with what you're saying, Brandon, where I think those upgrades should be free. I think if you can fix it in a patch and upgrade it, then you should just upgrade that for free for people who had already previously bought the title. And then obviously if someone wants to buy it new, then they have to buy it new. But then again, when I look at it, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, back in the day you would have had to buy a brand new game, but we're not back in the day. So there's a part of me that's kind of like, well, yeah, there was a time where you would have just had to buy a new game if you wanted to own. If I wanted to own a game on a PS6 that I owned on a PS5, I was expected to buy the PS6 version. But going back to my previous point, as I'm kind of talking about it, kind of mulling it around, it's 100%. We are past that day and age, though. We are past that point in time where it should be expected that I have to do that. That being said, I think it would be out of hand. The only time I think it is anti-consumer and out of hand is when they force me to do so. If I can no longer play the previous iteration of the title on the new system and you're forcing me to buy the new version of the game and it is not different than the previous version, that is when I take issue. So, like, because I'm notorious, I don't think Bloodborne needs a remaster. I just really don't. I get it. Some people do. I don't. I will happily play the PS4 version of fucking Bloodborne, ad nauseum. Unless there's something that's fundamentally changed. You show me fundamental change on a level that I think would convince me that it needs an upgrade, then we could talk. But until then, I haven't seen anything that leans me personally towards that camp. And that's where it's like, that's why I don't feel that it's out of hand, because as of right now, I can't think of too many titles off the top of my head that have remasters that you're not allowed to play the original version of the game or how it was initially. Like, I can still play Last of Us. I don't have to buy the remaster of Last of Us if I wish to play Last of Us 2. Like, and because that was one that I was like, fucking, they're already remastering this game. It's like I can play Last of Us 2 and totally be satisfied. They're not forcing me to buy a remastered version of the game. Therefore, it's you're not harming me by doing so. That
could you give me an example of one that because you said they would stop you from playing the older version.
I'm saying if that situation were to arise, off the top of my head, I couldn't. And if you can think of it, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't say. That's why I don't say it is out of hand. That's pretty much the only thing keeping me from saying that. Now, if they were cutting off my ability to access these previous titles,
Hunt Showdown, when it upgraded to the PS5 version, the PS4 one went off.
Can you not play the PS4 version one?
Nope. Done.
Even on the PS4?
Done. Shut down.
Well, that's a server shutdown thing. That's a whole different thing. They're not forcing me to buy a new game to play that game. They're just no longer servicing those old servers, which sucks. That 100% does suck.
Yeah.
But they're not, that's they're the maker. That's like the devs of Hunt. They're like, we don't have the resources to keep up the PS4 version of this game. we're moving on from this, and that happens with the march of time. That just is what it is. It's unfortunate. That'd be, you can't and that would go to the question of, which might even be a solid, at least side talking point. Even it's, how long do you expect people to keep these servers alive for? I understand people, we've talked about people opening it to the community, but yeah, we could talk about it later. But effectively, I can't expect them to keep the servers alive for a older, out of date console forever. Now, if they were like, now if we had Hunt now, and they said, well, here's the Hunt remaster, we're shutting down, your ability to, like, say PS6 came out and they're like, yeah, you have to buy the remastered Hunt or you can't play Hunt anymore. And it's like, yeah, we're not shutting down the servers. We're just saying, well, we're shutting down the servers specifically for this. So you're essentially writing in net code that makes it so that you can't use that older model. And it's not doing anything besides, a slight upgrade. It's like, then I would take issue. But what they've done, like I said, is it's something that just happens with the march of time with systems. It is what it is. I wouldn't expect to be able to play 360 Gears of War servers either, but I haven't seen them force anybody to do that. And that at that point, and even then, at that point, they would be an outlier. Now, if it was an industry standard to pull some shit like that, I would start taking issue. So I 100% agree that I think it's unnecessary. I think it's silly, but I still have the option of, as the consumer, to not purchase the remaster and still ingest the content. So they're not wronging me in any way. Essentially they're just putting a upgraded experience behind a price tag. I can't fault them for that. Like Vaughn said, it costs money, it costs resources to do that. I do think the price point on, like, I don't think anybody should charge a full $60 price tag for a game that's been remastered. That I'll never accept. For a remake, absolutely, 100%. I think that is totally fair. That is a whole different game from the ground up. But if you're telling me you're remastering a game, it's the same game, same experience, same story. It just looks better, maybe performs a little better. And not because you made any mechanical changes, but just because you essentially increased the frame rate, upgraded textures, yada, yada, yada. That should never be a full $60 price tag, because you're not giving me a brand new product.
Especially when Joe Schmo over here is releasing that as an update.
Correct. And that is, and I will say, I think that should be the standard. 100%. Sure. I would agree that I think that should be the standard. I don't think they should be doing this, but I don't think they're doing anything, I guess you could say, morally wrong, but I don't think they're doing anything anti-consumer by doing this.
It's not anti-consumer, but it's not pro-consumer. It's right on the line.
Right. It's in a gray zone. Like I said, if they stepped over the line and started forcing me to buy the remaster and no longer allowing me to play the remake, we'd have a whole.
I'll definitely be interested in where this goes with PS6, because you could get away with it right now because we're going from PS4 to 5 where things are 30 to 60 and blah, blah, blah. But now everything is standard 60. So what's going to be your excuse for remastering to PS6? Because they're not going to stop doing it. Right. So what is going to be your excuse? That the textures? I don't care about that.
And this comes down to, the victim blaming, effectively, where it's like, people are buying the fucking remasters, dude. People 100%. Are buying them, and they would be more encouraged to release things in patches as opposed to releasing full-blown remasters like this, if less people would purchase the remasters. But as Vaughn said, it's easy money, and if they can put a fucking remaster of a game at a $60 price tag and you buy it at a $60 price tag, then, we're talking about releasing the update as a patch is like the end game. We can't even get people to fight for a not full price remaster. It's like, that's where the conversation needs to start at. We shouldn't even be having full price remasters. I stand by that. And I think that we need to get people, if we want to see any change towards what you're talking about consistently. Obviously, some people do it, but if we want that to happen consistently, we need to get the ball rolling on a remaster shouldn't be full price. That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
I think Brandon's scenario with the 6 is extremely dependent on if the price of games currently stays the same when that system comes out. If it doesn't, then we're probably going to continue to see here's the PS6 version. It just costs $10 to upgrade your PS5 version. If it's the same price, like if it's still a $70 game when the 6 comes out, then there's the chance that you'll get more like, here's the PS6 version. If you have the PS4 version, you get the 6 version and you can play it. Or if you've never had it, you have to buy it. So I think the price of games as a whole, the MSRP of the 6 versus the 5 is a fundamental piece of the puzzle.
Games are 70 or 80 right now.
70
still.
69.99. Okay.
Yep.
Are there some that are 80, or is that just like the deluxe editions?
The deluxe,
yeah.
Okay. Hey, you want the soundtrack?
The digital soundtrack. We've talked about this. I think that is
that's on Spotify right now.
I'm a sucker sometimes. I get the digital, but
I don't. But that's the thing.
I don't fault you.
You're not.
I'll buy the Judas soundtrack. It's like, it's more. It's almost more so to support the people I love.
That's why I buy the digital for like Capcom games. Like I'll get the digital deluxe version of Resident Evil 9 because like the quality that you're putting out, what you've showed me, I want to give you that extra money because
absolutely.
Everything other than 3 you've put out is a banger. So.
And when I'm in the position to buy more stuff, see, my thing is I would rather, and obviously it puts me in a position where, I don't have it, for all games or couldn't be able to have it for all games. But it's like a lot of times they have cool physical shit you can just buy separately. So I would much rather save the money on the deluxe release. It's like save that $10 and then find a fucking, if they got a $20 vinyl. I don't even have a vinyl player. I just think it's cool. I just think it's neat and it supports them. And I would much rather just save that extra $10 and put that $10 towards some kind of physical merchandise to have for that. So yeah, for me, for that, it's, and I would even be behind. I even somewhat, being reasonable, I somewhat support the whole $10 upgrade system. 100%. I support that. They're not forcing it, but if you want it, you have to pay for it. I think that's fair.
That's the sweet spot for me.
I would like, obviously, being super pro consumer, I would love for it to be free. I cannot expect just free things. It is a business at the end of the day.
When it's 20 or above, like Nintendo like to do with the Switch 2 versions of games, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's where it crosses a line. Like I purchased the product already.
If some of the Nintendo games are coming with expansions, like extra content, sure. But the fact that you're putting out Tears of the Kingdom that just plays better because you're on a more powerful machine and you're charging X amount of money for it, you're a greedy bastard.
Dude, I can't remember where I heard it from, but I heard they suck. I don't remember where it was from, but
word on the street is Nintendo does suck ass.
I heard it on the wind, standing in a field the other day, enjoying nature's bounty, and it was just like, Nintendo blows.
Yeah, right. I actually totally forgot about the $10 upgrade. I think that's actually like 100% fair because it required work. And even, I guess, I mean, they'll never do it, obviously, but I would just like a smidge more transparency. Just like, hey, this is literally what it costs us to do this. This is what we have to charge to make a profit. I'm not pulling no punches with you. You're my consumer, and it's like, that's kind of what I appreciate about like crowdfunded stuff. It's just like, hey, straight up, this is what it's going to cost. This is there's this dinosaur game, Echoes of Extinction, that just made a bunch of crowdfunding, and it made over what it was, asking. And the first thing they said in their like developer diary was like, hey, it was so successful that the people that were working part-time, we are now able to hire them full-time thanks to you. boom, that's awesome. Thanks for the transparency. Now they're saying development's going to go faster. Now we can actually put more stuff on. It's like, just talk, man.
Yeah.
We're not just, I understand that we're numbers on a board somewhere, but at the same time, spoilers, we're humans and you can talk. And it's like,
those numbers will go up if you're more open about stuff.
Dude, like grinding your games and, all these, it's just, I think the people are way too like loose with it. Not loose, way too forgiving and accepting of this stuff too. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's like, dude, all you got to do is treat them a little bit like a person and they will show up in droves. Just super reward you. So it's just, I don't know.
Well, it always circles back to the people, in reality, a lot of the people that are making these decisions that infuriate us, they're not part of the community. They are very much, these are the money men. They are the people that are.
Who was it again?
Half these people don't even play fucking games, that are making those kind of decisions, unfortunately.
Who was it again that created microtransactions? I forget. Yeah, whatever. That's another topic for another day. It's almost predatory in nature. Are you guys good on said topic?
Yep. I'm the best on the topic.
Yep. All right. Boom. Cue the funky music for the end here. It's been a good one, guys. I did it again. There it is. That's that smooth jazz. Finger snap. Immediately spin into
Spider-Man 3 style walking down the sidewalk.
He was feeling himself, baby.
He was. Yeah, good to be here with you guys as always. Love talking games. Looking forward to tomorrow. I'm gonna have to definitely have more water bottles, and I'm gonna eat a good meal. Hot plate, good flavor before I do it this time.
Put a square of towels at your feet so like when you completely 360 in your face.
I'll give you credit. You did pretty good. Like for the fact that you can't figure out where like the all the links are for like our socials and stuff. The fact that we're like turn to your left and you immediately are like perfectly facing us. I'm like, all right.
I'm giving you.
He's got spatial awareness.
I'm giving you degrees of turning, and you're turning the amount of degrees that I want you. I'm like, I asked you to point left, and you point right. I'm like, God damn it.
The towel thing honestly might make me fall. I'm not gonna lie to you. That might be like, oh God, guys.
We can continue to just, hey, when you're not killing things, turn X degrees.
Yeah, I'm super excited for tomorrow. It's so much fun. That game is just so good. But yeah, it's been another excellent episode of Redacted Party Chat. Case file 16. I almost said it wrong, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's get out of here. It's been Brandon.
Juan.
Adrian.
Y'all have a good night.
Toot that thing up, mommy, make it crawl.